brains. It has been over a week since I've done a video. I missed this. I missed you guys. Tell me, how's your week been going? What have you been up to? But tell me a little bit about that in the comment section below. I do have to explain myself a little bit. I've been gone for over a week. I usually don't like there being this much time in between videos. I usually like having at least a few days if I'm gonna have that space, but you know, whatever. I had to go to Indiana last week. So I went to Indiana. I visited my folks. I bought a bunch of Blu-rays. I hate to say it, like that's like the crux of my trip, but pretty much that's what happened. I went to Indiana, I visited some family, I visited some friends, I had a good time. My mama cooked something for me that, to be honest, I cannot talk about without violating FCC airwaves, so just know that the shit was bomb. Pretty much going to be reviewing some movies this week that I would have reviewed last week if I wasn't on vacation, and that is a very long-winded way of saying thank you for tuning into this video. And now it's time to talk about 7500. 7500 is a new airplane thriller of sorts that debuted on Amazon Prime a few weeks ago, and it stars Joseph Gordon-Levitt. The premise and the plot for this one is pretty damn simple. Joseph Gordon-Levitt stars as a pilot. Him and the other pilot, they're piloting some plane. I can't even really remember where the plane is going. While they're in the air, chaos ensues. There is a group of men who rush the cockpit and try to force their way inside, and they take the rest of the plane hostage. Joseph Gordon-Levitt has to find a way to manage all of this. He has to try to find a way to fly and land the plane safely while also dealing with the hostage threat and dealing with these terrorists who are trying to take over the plane. And you know, it's a very stressful situation for the guy. Now, me as one of those people that really likes Joseph Gordon-Levitt. I do. I like the guy. I think he's a very underrated actor. I'm gonna say something that sounds like a backhanded compliment, but it's not really a backhanded compliment. If you actually listen to the words that are coming out of my mouth, it is a backhanded compliment, but it's the kind of backhanded compliment that I think you guys can appreciate. This movie does not work. It does not get off the ground. It does not fly without Joseph Gordon-Levitt. I'm proud of myself for those weird plane puns that I just tried to put on you. This movie doesn't work without Joseph Gordon-Levitt. He is it. He is the whole point. He's the whole reason that you're watching this movie. It is his performance. It's very captivating. He definitely does a good job of making you want to root for his character. They give you enough backstory in the beginning to where you sort of understand his character. Gotta give it to this director. I can't remember the name of the director, but I'm fairly certain this is their first project. I can tell with a movie like this that there wasn't a lot of budget being put into this movie, but I can tell that they utilized it to the best of their ability. They made the most of it. They tried to make lemonade out of lemons. Sure, maybe it didn't come across as the vintage lemonade that you can find at the fair or something like that, but still, it's not bad, okay? It's at least Subaru level. I like the way that they utilize the location and the setting and having everything framed in this movie from the perspective of the cockpit. This entire terrorist situation, you don't really know what's going on in the rest of the plane. You get brief hints and glimpses as to what's going on beyond that door. For the most part, they focus exclusively on Joseph Gordon-Levitt and his struggle in the cockpit to try to maintain order. And that's what's really going to sell you on the suspense and the tension in the first half of this movie, is the claustrophobia of dealing with everything from the cockpit, not knowing what's going on. You're really rooting for Joseph Gordon-Levitt to Robin his way out of the situation. He's not Robin, I know that. I'm just saying, you know, it's just the type of job he does in this movie would have made Batman proud. You know, if Batman actually gave a shit and he's off on vacation with Selena Kyle. I'm crossing my franchises now. I apologize. Unfortunately, the first half of the movie is executed in a way where the second half, the only place it could go was down. When I say down, I mean that the quality in the second half of this movie, it took a nosedive. Like, it plummeted and probably crashed somewhere in the Atlantic. Once again, I should not be making plane puns and definitely shouldn't be joking about them crashing, but to be honest, there's no other way I can describe the second half of this movie. The movie is really nothing to write home about. It kind of drags on. There's a certain point in the movie where you can tell that they don't really know how to end the movie. They do a very poor job at trying to humanize some of the terrorists, some of the people that have hijacked this plane. In fact, you're just really bored throughout the second half of this movie. There's this one terrorist where he just kind of alternates between crying and whining and yelling about stuff. And you don't really care. You don't really care about any of it. Definitely some logical errors in the screenplay where it threatens to buckle under the weight of its own premise. There's a couple of decisions that characters make or don't make where you feel like the second half of the movie probably wouldn't even happen if a certain thing had happened the way that it happened. And I get it. You could look at a lot of movies that way and you could determine that. And I'm not saying that I don't understand some of the decisions. I'm just saying it sticks out like a sore thumb. And when the rest of the movie is kind of uneventful and kind of boring in the second half, I mean, what else do you really have here other than to look at those errors? In terms of thrillers that you can find on airplanes, I'm sorry, but there's a shit ton of other airplane thrillers out there that I think you'll probably have a better time with. 7500 was a decent but average movie. I'm gonna put this one in the Fortress of Solitude. It's a solid watch. You might get some entertainment out of it for Joseph Gordon-Levitt. Now, guys, stay tuned. I have a lot of other videos, a lot of other movie reviews coming out. I also have a big DC-related video coming out where I talk about Batman and all the big stuff that's going on in DC Universe. So make sure you check out that video. Please like and subscribe to the Superfan Show. And as always, if you like what you see, tell me how you feel and stay tuned to hear more from the Man of Steel. Peace.